Hi my friends, welcome back for our 10th reading of Wonder. Like always, the first thing I want you to do is stop and think about what we read in our last reading. I'm sorry if you hear Meyer. I guess someone's coming home. All right, I'll give you a couple seconds. All right, my friends. So last reading was a pretty up and down emotional reading. Started out as one of the best days yet. It was Halloween, Augie's favorite day of the year, and it was a great day. The morning started off pretty good. Dad was in a rush, so he ended up not going as Boba Fett to school. He ended up going as the Bleeding Scream, which is like a black robe and a mask, a scream mask. It was a really great morning for Augie. He was skipping through the hallways. He had someone like high-five him that was wearing the same costume in the hallway, and he thought, no one knows who I am. So he was having fun. People were high-fiving him. No one was looking at him. It was a good morning until he gets to his homeroom. He gets to his homeroom and he sees a Darth Sidious and two mummies. The Darth Sidious we find out is Julian, and we find out one of the mummies is Jack Will. Since Augie is in the Scream costume, not the Boba Fett, they don't know it's him. They're looking for a Boba Fett costume. So Augie's able to go over and stand by them and listen to them talking. And while they're talking, they're not saying the nicest things. They're talking about how Darth Sidious really looks like Augie. And then Jack Will actually goes into how he kind of is forced to be Augie's friend. Mr. Tushman put him in every single one of his classes. He thinks Mr. Tushman made all the teachers sit next to each other. And then he also says that Augie follows him around. So hearing that, Augie gets very upset. He gets very upset and he kind of just storms out of the room. And I could understand that. That's his best friend. That's someone he's with pretty much all day of school. And now he's figuring out that he's not really one of his best friends the way he thought he was. That's upsetting. That's really upsetting. So he ends up going home. He was home that Thursday, and then he ends up staying home Friday. So he's home for the last 2 days of the week, and then the weekend. And then we get up to, that's where we ended, him getting home, and it was the weekend. Now we get to the really, really, really cool part of this book. We now are at part 2, which is Via. So up until this point, Augie has been the one talking. Augie has been the one telling his story, and how it feels for him to go back to school, and how it's felt for him to go through all these surgeries, and living differently, living the way he does. He's talked it from his point of view. Now we get to see Via's. So we get to see how this has all been from Via's point of view, how she feels about it. All right, so at the bottom it says, for far above the world, planet Earth is blue, and there's nothing I can do. David Bowie, Space Oddity. All right, and here we go into part 2 from Via's point of view. I'm super excited. A tour of the galaxy. So remember, when I'm reading, I'm now reading from Via's point of view, okay? August is the sun. Me and Mom and Dad are planets orbiting the sun. The rest of our family and friends are asteroids and comets floating around the planets orbiting the sun. The only celestial body that doesn't orbit August, the sun, is Daisy the dog. And that's only because to her, little doggy's eyes, August, let me start that again. The only celestial body that doesn't orbit August the sun is Daisy the dog. And that's only because to her little doggy eyes, August's face doesn't look very different from any other human's face. To Daisy, all our faces look alike, as flat and pale as the moon. I'm used to the way this universe works. I've never minded it because it's all I've ever known. I've always understood that August is special and has special needs. If I was playing too loudly and he was trying to take a nap, I knew I'd have to play something else because he needed to rest after some procedure, or other had left him weak and in pain. If I wanted Mom and Dad to watch me play soccer, I knew that 9 out of 10 times they'd miss it because they were busy shuttling August to speech therapy or physical therapy or a new specialist or a surgery. Mom and Dad would always say I was the most understanding little girl in the world. I don't know about that. Just that I understood that there was no point in complaining. I've seen August after his surgeries. his little face bandaged up and swollen, his tiny body full of IVs and tubes to keep him alive. After you've seen someone else going through that, it feels kind of crazy to complain over not getting the toy you had asked for, or your mom missing a school play. I knew this even when I was 6 years old. No one ever told it to me. I just knew it. So I've gotten used to not complaining, and I've gotten used to not bothering mom and dad with little stuff. I've gotten used to figuring things out on my own, how to put toys together, how to organize my life so I don't miss friends' birthday parties, how to stay on top of my schoolwork so I never fall behind in a class. I've never asked for help with my homework, never needed reminding to finish a project or study for a test. If I was having trouble with a subject in school, I'd go home and study it until I figured it out on my own. I taught myself how to convert fractions into decimal points by going online. I've done every school project pretty much by myself. When mom or dad ask me how things are going in school, I've always said, good, even when it hasn't always been so good. My worst day, worst fall, worst headache, worst bruise, worst cramp, worst mean thing anyone could say has always been nothing compared to what August has gone through. This isn't me being noble, by the way, just the way I know it is. And this is the way it's always been for me, for the little universe of us. But this year, there seems to be a shift in the cosmos. The galaxy is changing. Planets are falling out of alignment. So things are starting to change. Before August. I honestly don't remember my life before August came into it. I look at pictures of me as a baby, and I see mom and dad smiling so happily holding me. I can't believe how much younger they looked back then. Dad was this hipster dude, and mom was this cute Brazilian fashionista. There's one shot of me at my 3rd birthday. Dad's right behind me while mom's holding the cake with 3 lit candles. And in back of us are Tata and Papa, Grands, Uncle Ben, Kate, and Uncle Poe. Everyone's looking at me, and I'm looking at the cake. You can see in that picture how I really was the first child, first grandchild, first niece. I don't remember what it felt like, of course, but I can see it plain as day in that picture. I don't remember the day they brought August home from the hospital. I don't remember what I said or did or felt when I saw him for the first time, though everyone has a story about it. Apparently, I just looked at him for a long time without saying anything at all. And then finally I said, "It doesn't look like Lily." That was the name of a doll Grams had given me when mom was pregnant, so I could practice being a big sister. It was one of those dolls that are incredibly lifelike, and I had carried it everywhere for months, changing its diaper, feeding it. I'm told I even made a baby sling for it. The story goes that after my initial reaction to August, it only took a few minutes, according to Grans, or a few days, according to mom, before I was all over him, kissing him, cuddling him, baby talking him. After that, I never so much as touched or mentioned Lily ever again. I never used to see August the way other people saw him. I knew he didn't look exactly normal, but I really didn't understand why strangers seemed so shocked when they saw him, horrified, sickened, scared. There were so many words I can use to describe the looks on people's faces, and for a long time, I didn't get it. I just get mad. Mad when they stared, mad when they looked away. "What are you looking at?" I'd say to people, even grown-ups. Then, when I was about 11, I went to stay with Grans and Montauk for 4 weeks, while August was having his big jaw surgery. This was the longest I'd ever been away from home, and I have to say, it was so amazing to suddenly be free of all that stuff that made me so mad. No one stared at Grans and me when we went to town to buy groceries. No one pointed at us. No one even noticed us. Grans is one of those grandmothers who did everything with their grandkids. She'd run into the ocean if I asked her to, even if she had nice clothes on. She would let me play with her makeup and didn't mind if I used it on our face to practice my face painting skills. She'd take me for ice cream even if we hadn't eaten dinner yet. She'd draw chalk horses on a sidewalk in front of her house. One night, while we were walking back from town, I told her that I wished I could live with her forever. I was so happy there. I think it might have been the best time of my life. Coming home after 4 weeks felt very strange at first. I remember very vividly stepping through the door and seeing August run over to welcome me home. And for this tiny fraction of a moment, I saw him, not the way I've always seen him, but the way other people see him. It was only a flash, an instant, while he was hugging me, so happy that I was home. But it surprised me because I had never seen him like that before. I never felt what I was feeling before either. A feeling I hated myself for having that moment. I had it. But as he was kissing me with all his heart, all I could see was the drool coming down his chin. And suddenly there, I was like all those people who would stare or look away, horrified, sickened, scared. Thankfully, that only lasted for a second. The moment I heard August laugh his raspy little laugh, it was over. Everything was back the way it had been before, but it opened a door for me, a little peephole. And on the other side of the peephole, there were two Augusts, the one I saw blindly and the one other people saw. I think the only person in the world I could have told any of this to was Gran, but I didn't. It was too hard to explain over the phone. I thought maybe she'd come for Thanksgiving. I would tell her, but just 2 months after I stayed with her in Montauk, my beautiful Gran died. It was so completely out of the blue. Apparently, she had checked herself into the hospital because she'd been feeling nauseous. Mom and I drove out to see her, but it's a 3-hour drive from where we live. And by the time we got to the hospital, Gran was gone. Heart attack. They told us just like that. It's so strange how one day you can be on the earth and next day not. Where did she go? Will I really ever see her again? Or is that a fairy tale? You see movies and TV shows where people receive horrible news in hospitals. But for us, with all our many trips to the hospital with August, there had always been good outcomes. What I remember the most from the day Grams died is Mom literally crumpling to the floor in slow heaving sobs, holding her stomach like someone had just punched her. I've never ever seen Mom like that. Never heard sounds like that come out of her. Even though all of August's surgeries, Mom always put on a brave face. On my last day in Montauk, Grams and I had watched the sunset on the beach. We had taken a blanket to sit on, but it had gotten chilly, so we wrapped it around us and cuddled and talked until there wasn't even a sliver of sun left over the ocean. And then Grams told me she had a secret to tell me. She loved me more than anyone else in the world. Even August? I had asked. She smiled and stroked my hair like she was thinking about what to say. I love Augie. Very, very much, she said softly. I can still remember her Portuguese accent, the way she rolled her R's. But he has many angels looking out for him already, Via. And I want you to know that you have me looking out for you. Okay, Menina querida? I want you to know that you are number one for me. You are my... She looked out at the ocean and spread her hands out like she was trying to smooth out the waves. You are my everything. You understand me, Via. Te es meu tudo. I understood her, and I knew why she said it was a secret. Grandmothers aren't supposed to have favorites. Everyone knows that. But after she died, I held on to that secret. And it let it cover me like a blanket. August through the peephole. His eyes are about an inch below where they should be on his face, almost to halfway down his cheeks. They slant downward at an extreme angle, almost like a diagonal slant that someone cut into his face. And the left one is noticeably lower than the right one. They bulge outward because his eye cavities are too shallow to accommodate them. The top eyelids are always halfway closed, like he's on the verge of sleeping. The lower eyelids sag so much they almost look like a piece of invisible string is pulling them downward. You can see the red part of the inside, like they're almost inside out. He doesn't have eyebrows or eyelashes. His nose is disproportionately big for his face and kind of fleshy. His head is pinched in on the sides where the ears should be, like someone used giant pliers and crushed the middle part of his face. He doesn't have cheekbones. There are deep creases running down both sides of his nose to his mouth, which gives him a waxy appearance. Sometimes people assume he's been burned in a fire. His features look like they've been melted, like the drippings on the side of a candle. Several surgeries to correct his lip have left a few scars around his mouth, the most noticeable one being a jagged gash running from the middle of his upper lip to his nose. It's about here to up here. His upper teeth are small and splay out. He has severe overbite and an extremely undersized jawbone. He has a very small chin. When he was very little, before a piece of his hip bone was surgically implanted into his lower jaw, he really had no chin at all. His tongue would just hang out of his mouth with nothing underneath to block it. Thankfully, it's better now. He can eat, at least. When he was younger, he had a feeding tube, and he can talk, and he's learned to keep his tongue inside his mouth, though that took him several years to master. He's also learned to control the drool that's used to run down his neck. These are considered miracles. When he was a baby, the doctors didn't think he'd live. He can hear, too. Most kids born with these types of birth defects have problems with their middle ears that prevent them from hearing. But so far, August can hear well enough through his tiny cauliflower-shaped ears. The doctors think that eventually he'll need to wear hearing aids. August hates the thought of this. He thinks the hearing aids will get noticed too much. I don't tell him that the hearing aids would be the least of his problems, of course, because I'm sure he knows this. Then again, I'm not really sure what August knows or doesn't know, but he understands and doesn't understand. Does August see how other people see him, or has he gotten so good at pretending not to see it, it doesn't matter? It doesn't bother him, or does it bother him? When he looks in the mirror, does he see the Augie mom and dad see, or does he see the Augie everyone else sees? Or is there another August he sees? Someone in his dreams behind the misshapen head and face. Sometimes when I looked at Gran's, I could see the pretty girl she used to be underneath the wrinkles. I could see the girl from Panama inside the old lady walk. Does August see himself as he might have looked without that single gene that caused the catastrophe of his face? I wish I could ask him this stuff. I wish he would tell me. I wish he would tell me how he feels. He used to be easier to read before the surgeries. You knew that when his eyes squinted, he was happy. When his mouth went straight, he was being mischievous. When his cheeks trembled, he was about to cry. He looks better now, no doubt about that, but the signs he used to gauge his moods are all gone. There are new ones, of course. Mom and Dad can read every single one, but I'm having trouble keeping up. And there's a part of me that doesn't want to keep trying. Why can't he just say what he's feeling like everyone else? He doesn't have a trachea tube in his mouth anymore that keeps him from talking. His jaw is not wired shut. He's 10 years old. He can use his words. But we circle around him like he's still the baby he used to be. We change plans, go to plan B, interrupt conversations, go back on promises depending on his moods, his whims, his needs. That was fine when he was little, but he needs to grow up now. We need to let him, help him, make him grow up. Here's what I think. We've all spent so much time trying to make August think he's normal that he actually thinks he is normal. And the problem is, he's not. All right, my friends, I want to stop there. So how cool is that, seeing this all from Via's point of view? She feels that mom and dad baby him too much. He's 10 now. He's in 5th grade. She feels that they need to push him farther, make him get out of his comfort zone. We'll see. I think it's the cool part, getting there with talking about Via and how she feels about all this stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this reading. Have a great night, my friends.